Control your attention, control your life. Let me tell you a story about what used to happen to me all the time, and you can tell me if you've ever had this experience. You're driving to work in the morning, and you think to yourself, there's this one thing I have to get done today. Have to do it. It's really important. I've been putting it off way too long. Today is the day I'm going to do it. My head is consumed with nothing but, I have to get this thing done. I call those things that are important to me, those things that weigh on my mind, my significant results. So I go into work with every intention of completing that significant result, first thing. But at the door to the office, I'm greeted with a line of coworkers. Oh, it's so good that you're here. I'm so happy that you're here. We really need to talk to you. Can you come into this meeting? We have to talk about this event. And so then I go into the meeting, and then by the time I get back to my desk, there's a pile of voicemail messages waiting. The email is piling up. I've got text messages. I start to respond to those. Have you had this kind of experience before? Yes. Every day, right? And before I realize it, it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Usually what happened to me is that I was driving home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock going, still didn't do that thing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the result of having your attention diverted. Effectively, your attention is stolen from the results that are significant to you. There is an unrelenting number of constant demands on our attention. And what I realized is that no amount of time management was ever going to change the number of demands on my attention. In fact, I would go so far as to suggest that you stop trying to manage your time. Time management is an outdated concept that has far outlived its usefulness. The tools of time management are a calendar and a clock. But just putting something on your calendar doesn't mean that it will get done, right? If that were the case, we'd all be in perfect shape because we would never blow off that workout appointment that we put on our calendar, right? And just making time for something doesn't mean that you will have the experience that you intended. Because, say for example, you decide that you are going to take 30 minutes. You've got 30 minutes before the next meeting. And you're going to take that time to work on that significant result. Let's say it's a proposal to a client. So you open up that document and you start to think about that client. And then out of the corner of your eye, you see an indication that you have new email messages. And you think to yourself, well, I'll just check that. I'll just check that real fast. Who's that? Oh, I can answer that real quickly. Okay, that can wait, that can wait. Okay, now, back to the proposal. Where was I? Oh, there's a text message on my cell phone. Let me just get that. I'll just, okay, and then you put that aside. All right, now, where was I on this client proposal? You know, speaking of that client, I wonder if it's going to rain for our outing with them this weekend. I better just jump on Google and check the weather real fast. That'll only take a minute. If you spend that 30 minutes switching your attention, only giving your attention to that significant result in a few minutes at a time, it doesn't change the fact that the time will pass. But you may not have the experience that you intended. Technology allows for so many distractions now. We have external distractions from our technology, but we also have internal distractions. How many people have thought about anything else since I started speaking? It's okay, I know you have. Because sometimes we are our own worst enemy, right? So we have internal distractions and external distractions. So how you spend your time is only relevant to the extent that you also devote your attention. Attention management is much more important today than time management. The media says that we're in the information age. And the characteristic of the information age is that we have information overload, right? You've seen that. Information, too much information is our problem. And it is true that the volume and speed of information creation is faster and greater than at any other time in history. No question, that is true. But information alone is not the problem, because there has always been too much information. At no time in human history could any person ever know everything there was to know, right? There's always been too much to know. The difference is that before, we could go through life happily oblivious to all of the things that we didn't want to know, because it actually took time and effort to seek out that information. Now, any whim, any thought that enters our mind, we can indulge with just a few clicks on the device that we always have glued to our hand. So too much information alone is not the problem. The problem is compounded now by the fact that technology has created an environment where information is no longer passive. Information now gets pushed into our lives. It inserts itself into our lives whether we want it or not, in ways that are designed through our technology and ways that we allow to steal our attention from us. And once that information has entered our world, entered our consciousness, then we have to figure out what to do with it. Otherwise, it becomes stagnant and it just clutters our mind and our physical space. So I believe that we have entered a new age. An age where the old ideas of time management and information overload and things like multitasking, where those ideas just don't serve us anymore. I believe that we have entered an age that I call the attention age. And the characteristic of the attention age is that attention is now the most valuable commodity. Because anyone who knows anything about marketing knows that the job of marketing is to steal your attention from you, right? Nobody's going to do business with a company they've never heard of. No one's ever going to buy a product that they've never heard of. So before a business will ever get someone's money, they must first capture their attention. And it's harder and harder for those marketing messages to get through because there's so much noise. We are constantly bombarded by these messages all day long. So attention is now the most valuable commodity. And because of that, focus, or your ability to control your attention, is now the most valuable skill. Because every marketer in the world knows that they must steal your attention. And so your only defense against that is your ability to control your attention. Your only defense against the constant onslaught of demands on your attention is your ability to control your attention management. The more I study productivity and effectiveness, and really the ability to achieve the things I aspire to during my time on this planet, the more I study those things, the more I have become convinced that the secret to all of those things is all about control. And specifically, control over your own attention. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there are many, many, many things in this world that I can't control, despite being a control freak, I will admit it. But I know that there are many things in this world that I can't control. However, I don't think that my own attention should be one of them. Because what's the opposite of control? What's the opposite of control? Chaos? What else? Helplessness, right? Out of control. I don't think anybody would say that those are the words that they would want to describe their life, right? And in fact, studies indicate that people who perceive that they have more control in their lives are more likely to report their lives as being happy. So the more I study this, the more I have become convinced that if you control your attention, you control your life. So let me see if I can illustrate what I mean by this. There was a noted philosopher, psychologist, medical doctor. His name was William James. And William James said, "My experience is what I agree to attend to." Would you buy that? You think that's true? My experience is what I agree to attend to. Let me give you an example. We have any sports fans in the room? Lots of sports fans. Okay, so if you are a sports fan, is it fair to say that you attend social functions around sporting events? Maybe tailgate or parties, watch parties, those kinds of things? Sure, right? You probably attend sporting events, right, where you see other people. You probably read about sports. You talk to other people about sports, right? So if you give your attention to sports, you have experiences around sports. Fair? On the other hand, some of those people who are sports fans probably have no idea that there are big things that people pay attention to as closely as they do sports that you probably have no idea about. Maybe vampire romance. Did you know that was a thing? If you don't give your attention to that, you have no experiences around that. Fair? My experience is what I agree to attend to. Now, I hope you would also agree that your life is made up of your experiences. Is that true? When you look back on your life, it's just a string of the experiences that you had. Right? They say it's not the moments in your life, it's the life in your moments, right? Your experiences. So, if your attention determines your experiences, and your experiences determine your life, then your attention determines your life. What if too often you don't choose where your attention goes, but you allow it all the time to be stolen from you by all the things that are constantly demanding your attention? That story I told at the beginning that you've all experienced, that illustrates on a micro level how having your attention stolen can rob you of a day. All of those things that you intended to do that day didn't get done. But those days add up into weeks, add up into months, into years, and pretty soon you might find yourself at some time of reflection, maybe on a birthday, thinking to yourself, wow, I still haven't made any progress on X. I still haven't started that new business, or launched that new product, or written that book, or finished school, or whatever goal it was that you had. If you find yourself thinking, man, I thought I would be much farther along on that by now, then you've experienced how your attention can be stolen at the macro level, and you may very well find that at some point your life is not on the path that you intended. I think it's hard to measure productivity, but I define productivity by the progress that I make on the results that are significant to me. William James also said, "The art of being wise is the art of knowing what to overlook." Attention management is your path to achieving your significant results. Unfortunately, most of us have habits that actually erode our own attention and productivity instead of support it. Are you supporting your own wisdom and control, or are you sabotaging those things in yourself? How much more effective would you be if you allowed yourself the opportunity to practice only one thing at a time sometimes, without switching? A little bit here, a little bit there. How about if you allowed yourself frequent periods of undistracted time where you could find your flow and unleash your creativity, unleash your true genius? How much more effective could you be if you were undistracted sometimes? Do you have to let distraction determine the direction of your life? Or can you master control over your own attention and live a life of choice? Control your attention, control your life. Thank you very much for having me.